Center for Environment Education based in Lucknow. She handles our CE North regional cell and the CE Himalaya activities. Along with that, she's also the national head for our school programs and sustainability education initiatives, looking at how do we work with schools, teachers, and sustainability education across, developing materials, trainings, and doing research on these aspects. Also joining virtually with us is Mr. Arnav Masia. He is the international coordinator at Foundation for Environmental Education based at Denmark. He'll be also sharing with us his experience on how handprint as a concept has traveled international, and a program of FEE, My Actions Matter, and how has handprint been seen as a concept. We also have our colleagues from CEE. I'll take this pleasure to introduce my colleagues, Ms. Archana Bhatnagar and Ms. Khushbu Shah. Ms. Archana Bhatnagar is a senior program coordinator looking at our CE Western regional cell programs, especially to look at schools and municipality schools, and how do we look at quality education and improving the learning gaps, especially after the COVID period. Ms. Khushbu Shah is the coordinator for our Eco Schools India program. She handles the Eco Schools and the YRE, Young Reporters for Environment program, which we do in partnership with FEE, Foundation for Environmental Education, and works with schools and teachers across India. Yes, myself, Archana. I come from CE's Ahmedabad office, along with the Human Resource Management Institutional Development responsibilities. There is a early education and a nature-based education center that we have at the CE campus. Some of you might have seen our campus in Ahmedabad, where we take the opportunity to involve young kids in nature-based education, environmental education activities, which I take care of at the CEE. Now I think we should start with our session, and I invite Sri Kartikeya Sarabhai to share his thoughts and experiences on handprint methodology. Thank you, Kartikeya.
Thank you, Archana. I think maybe we go to the next slide. Can one of you be sitting here? Okay, good. Yeah, so I'm just going to give a introduction to the handprint. Many of you might know it, but I thought we can go into a little more detail over the next 10 minutes or so. And then we have experience sharing from a number of programs, which will show what we mean at different levels. So about the handprint methodology, as most of you know, handprint, and let me go to the next one first. The handprint concept really developed in a program we were doing called environmental education in schools in Andhra Pradesh. And this was in Hyderabad city. And at this Holy Mary High School in Hyderabad, they were 10-year-old girls. I think they must have been 5th standard or something. And they came up with this thing, not very clear at that time what this meant. But they started saying that just like you're talking about a footprint, which is a measure of how much you are treading on the planet, and there is no body or institution which can have a zero footprint, because there is no way you run without resources. How do you not think of what you can do? What is your potential of doing things? And why don't you have a measure for that? So the handprint became then a symbol used in all of our, in that day it was the combined Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. So that whole Andhra Pradesh program started using this one. And this is I'm talking about 2005. So it seemed like such a powerful idea, and even more powerful because it starts in a school, not in some research lab or not in CE for that matter, but in a school program. But when I went there and I was talking to Kalyani, who used to be the coordinator at that time there, I said, this is just fantastic and powerful. So in 2007, we had a UNESCO conference in Ahmedabad. And as you might probably know what that 7 means, 2007 was 30 years after the Tbilisi conference in Georgia. Georgia is now a separate country. It was part of the Soviet Union then. So in 72, as you know, we spoke about the conference at Stockholm, Sweden. And in Stockholm, they really laid the charter of what environment should be done. But one aspect of that charter was that you have to have a very good environmental education program globally. And for that, then they worked towards it. I think there was a meeting in Belgrade and other things. But finally, in 2007 was when this book on this, by the way, if some of you want to know this whole history and what happened, we've got a nice publication for that. You might have seen it also. I don't know whether it's here or not. Is it? The Tbilisi to that book is not there. Yeah, that may be, but there's this particular book talks about Tbilisi to Ahmedabad, because Tbilisi is where the first one happened, and then Greece, and then again somewhere else, and then Ahmedabad. So environmental education really got defined at that conference, and it still remains one of the most comprehensive treatises on what environmental education should be and their vision for the future. I think from India, we had Madhuri Shah, who used to be the head of the municipal schools in Mumbai, and then became Vice Chancellor SNDT in Bombay. So she was heading the delegation. We knew her well, and this was there. So anyway, this is history. So 30 years later, there was this UNESCO conference in Ahmedabad, and that's when we launched this. That's when people were not aware of it. It was still an internal thing, and launched it. And I must say that after launching it, and people have started picking it up all over the world, started using the word handprint. And hopefully one of these days, handprint will be something you can look up in an English dictionary as meaning something. But we must not forget that that's a word coming out of a school in Andhra Pradesh that we have, and there are almost no other. If you take international dialogues on education and say, is there a single concept here which started in India? I'm not talking about Gandhi's concepts, because those obviously on nonviolence are there. But are there any contemporary ones? There is none other than this one. So I think we should all feel rightfully proud that concept, but it was a transformative concept in the positive action. Now, what I thought I would, the concept which is there, that little world map you see and little hands in it, that's where some of the known programs are going on. And it was quite extraordinary how people picked it up. In fact, at first, CE had registered this print as a mark. And then we felt that we should not register it. After all, it belongs to the world. So we deregistered it. And after getting it registered, and said we'll put it under what is called the Creative Commons. And the Creative Commons means that anyone in the world can use it, but please acknowledge. It was interesting that someone showed us this Time magazine, which came out with some of the 10 best ideas in environmental education. In environment, not environmental, environment, 10 best ideas. And wonder for wonder, we saw the handprint there as one of them. So we were quite excited. And then we read the article. Of course, neither India nor we were mentioned. It was said that this particular professor at Harvard University was talking about the concept. So obviously, many people at CE got a bit upset. And we wrote to that person. He said, they came and interviewed me. So I explained it. They never asked me where it came from and where I got it. So I didn't give it. But this is the way the world works. Sometimes, like the number 0, it was thought that it came from the Middle East till someone figured out that Middle East got it from India. So things happen that way, but it is still ours. That's Rixa in the middle, who is our coordinator in Germany. But she also works with another organization called German Watch. And German Watch has used it. They made a major program, but they also got a website on the handprint in German. And if you go to the GIZ offices, they will also have the handprint there, and so forth. we were having a meeting in Canada where there was an environmental education program, and this one lady was having coffee from Scotland or somewhere. So she was not invited. She said, "Wo kya chal raha hai?" You know, in English, of course, what was going on inside. So I said, all the people doing handprint are meeting there. So she said, "But I'm using it." So I said, "I'm sorry, we don't know. Please join us." So there are many people who are using it, which we may not even be aware fully of. And of course, many are, the concept is wider because many people are doing it, not necessarily calling it handprint. That also obviously happens. So I thought it would be important today to just talk a little bit about handprint and its connection with this education for sustainable development, what it was. Now, as you know, much of the school system was chalk and talk type of things. And when C came about in 84, NCERT was doing 2 years later, in 86, was doing a massive teacher training program. And this was Rajiv Gandhi, I think, was Prime Minister. And they had decided to change and reorient it. And that's where we brought out one of our first important books called Joy of Learning, which was to do the activity approach. So everything was understood not only through a chalk and talk, but through activity. It was understood through an activity. Now, activities are many, and many of you must have done it. For instance, the Web of Life is a very common activity which we do, and people understand better when they see this. And there were a number of other activities we do. For instance, there's one activity where we are trying to get them to appreciate how, say, a green bee eater catches an insect midair. So we put a ball on the ground and tell the child, pick it up. So no great deal, you pick it up. Then we say, you put the ball and you say, you come running and pick it up. So it's a little more difficult. They, of course, some miss it, some do it. And then we roll the ball and you are also running and you have to pick it up. But then most people fail. But this is what then they see the green bee eater, and the green bee eater is, of course, catching a moving insect, and that's moving and you have to catch it. And it sort of just gives them a little thing. But these are basically what you call an activity approach to understand a concept. Now, the handprint is something which was not, it is an activity, but it's somewhat different. And I thought today we'll spend just 2 minutes on what is that distinction. The distinction is that a handprint activity is actually doing something for the environment, which is actual. It is not a demo. It is not a demonstration. It's actually doing something. So if you decide, for instance, in your class that we put in 2 bins, one is for wet and one is for dry, and I have, say, paper slips, which say, this one says carrots and someone says waste of plastic and this and that, and I ask children to put it in the right bin, that is an activity, right? It is not actually cleaning up something. It is an activity to show you how you do it. But if you were to say, okay, let us go to the school compound and let us actually clean it up, then that is a handprint activity. So the handprint activity is not just doing an activity as a learning tool. Learning tool it is, but it is something which is actually taking action on this planet, however small it is. It is impacting the planet. And I think that you ought to all remember that the handprint activity is different from both are educational, but when we normally talk about an educational activity, it is some sort of a demo. When we go to a lab, for instance, and when we do an experiment, it is not an experiment actually to change the world. It is an experiment to understand something. But if you were doing, for instance, say a beach cleanup or something, then it is an activity. This one school, for instance, in Chennai, I think, was using these plastic bottles with small holes as drip irrigation. And all the plants in their compound had these bottles reversed and stuck in with a drip. And then the children, because it was transparent, you could see whether it had water or not. So you could just roam around saying, wait, the water is finished here, so let us fill it with water. So you have an easy way of looking at it, and you can put water in it and get it going. So I think this I thought I would the morning, just before we see the actual experiment, to say that a handprint activity is possible in just about any environmental education thing. it is not the only methodology. So we're not saying it replaces everything else. It is very important to understand the concept. It's very important to read something. It's very important to go out in nature. Our camping activity involves that. But the handprint makes people feel that they don't have to grow up and be 18 plus before the first change in the planet they can do. People are getting more and more aware of issues, and children want to get used into something. Many times they want to get into something even before they even understand why it is. Because activism it feels good, you go and do something. They don't want to just learn, they want to do something. So this is what this captures. So what we're going to see today is some examples of what it is. I'm giving back to Archana. I think this was EST, and it ultimately links to the EST 2030 framework, where advancing policy, for instance, so handprint doesn't only mean direct action, it also means, for instance, we sometimes say, write a postcard or do something and get your corporator to clean up something. Children come and see something which obviously the school cannot take action outside, and that only the corporation can take action. So how do we get the corporator to act? So getting others to act is a possibility. Transforming the learning environment. These are UNESCO goals, by the way. Building capacity of educators, empowering and mobilizing youth, and exerting local level action. The last one obviously directly links to the handprint. So we will discuss SDGs, you all are familiar with, because handprint action we promote in each one of the SDGs. And especially by the time they come to university level, they can work in all. What we've done is, as you know, the SDGs are 17 goals, but they have 169 targets. And one of the things which we have done, again, if you would like to get it from C, we can. We've taken the 163 and narrowed it down to 50, and there's a further narrowing down to 30. These are 30 in which any student can take action. There are some things which have to be done, but then a student will feel hopeless. How can I change this? But there are about 30 to 50 where action can be taken. So those are the ones we first concentrate on, and we do it. And I think that's a good compendium to have. I will. Who's doing this one? I'll change.
Thank you, Kartikeya bhai. Now that we have a background of what the handprint concept and how it has grown and traveled across borders, and like he shared that various organizations, agencies, individuals, and schools have picked it up and have adapted in their own learning environments and have started to take positive actions. Now I would like to open the floor, because this is a dialogue and experience sharing session, and so I would like to hear from you as to how you have either taken positive actions involving schools, involving school children inside the school or outside the school, and if you think that aligns with the whole handprint ideology and the concept. So the mic is there. Please feel free to share your experiences. You are educators and teachers. Yeah. As a thinking point for all of us, we can wear hats of being an educator or a decision maker, and look at some of the actions that if we were supposed to look at pre-primary, primary, middle, the higher level, and say the youth were studying in university and colleges, as to what comes to us, as the ideas to involve young children and youth in taking handprint actions. We would really like to hear from you right now. Yes. While there are thinking points on the card, the topic in terms of the audience and the question behind the card, but please feel free to also share your experiences that you have been working on. Yes, please. You can on the mic.
So higher education, actually all the IITs and NITs, all the institutions, they are working this Unnat Bharat, Unnat Bharat Abhiyan. And since 2015 it is working, but still it is on the paper only. Institutions are trying to collaborate with villagers and they have objectives to Unnat Bharat banane ka hai. But nothing is moving. So youth can come himself and blame and claim that where is Unnat Bharat? That is a youth's perspective. Youth should come himself now. And this secretariat is in IIT Delhi, rural department. They can, initially Rajendra Prasad was there. Then after Vijay is there. After that something else. They should raise the questions how they can improve the Unnat Bharat. So all over India it can go, first of all. Secondly, NITs. NITs is a society based. Government is paying full pay and facilities for infrastructure to NITs. But NITs are totally dependent on the directors, board of governors. Professors are just like mute. They are just they are not able to take any decision for their own department even, own staff even, students even. Director is all and all, and director can do any wrong thing. So they are just like professor, not like professor. They are working. They are not able to forward the application also. They ask director, I should forward it or not.
So that's the problem statement.
So
right?
institution problem. That
Yes.
is institutional problem. So
Yes.
that institution president is that इसका क्या होता है, chairman होता है. So president should be given that whatever you are paying the institutes, it is not working properly. So please take care. Director should be not all in all professor, all executives should be there, and registrar should be a government man, or financial officer should be a government man. So accountability should be there. So it is a youth.
Very important point of
It is
highlighting
youth.
how you involve various stakeholders.
That the NITs
and-
can work functionally properly. Otherwise, it should be shut down.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you.
I just wanted to share two examples, which I did it with the local children that was like in my community children. So one was where we did like and throughout the lane, because it was the monsoon time, we did the investigation of all the bins outside that are kept in the houses and seeing whether there was any water collected in any of the pots or whether there was any water collected. And also all the children had these things where we mix the water with the neem oil, and jahan pe bhi collected water tha, we sprayed it over. So that was, and it involved all age group of children, because in a lane, you can't, so chote bhaiya ja rahe hain to bade bhaiya bhi aayenge, that kind of thing. And at the end of the lane, there is a park where all the children go and play, but there's a lot of litter that happens for the, the plastic litter and stuff. So one day we did a drive and it was inspiring because only one child came first. And I said, I was ashamed. I said, "Nahi, I am not going." But then she said, "Nahi, auntie, we are going to go." And as soon as we went in the park and she was cleaning and seeing her, all the children who didn't knew about the campaign, but they just came and they just did the thing. So that was the two hands-on activity that was successful because of children.
Yeah, wonderfully. One, when they saw an educator and they joined, and secondly, they themselves became the leaders and mobilized others to join a handprint action, and especially something that was a need of the hour at that point in time, like you said, monsoon and mosquitoes and all of that. Thank you so much. I think
teacher with small kids, I think
I'm sure it might help them to record
Okay.
it. So
Okay,
you may
fine,
please
yeah.
use them. Thank you.
Thank you. I think first let me just congratulate Eco School program because we are part of it. I think it really gives voice to children. And I have seen a remarkable, journey for my children, because it's like our 4th year in Eco School programs. And like sir was saying, that handprint, concept. I just would like to add before I start something else, that this is how I teach my children. Like, what does it mean? It is not just like, you put a print on the wall. It is like, your own action. So we have this, noun and action words in small
Mhm.
children. Then we said, what is the action word here? So they were saying, ma'am, we'll save water. Then how? Saying save water will not happen. Then that one child says, I will close tap when I'm putting soap in my hands, or when I'm brushing, I'll close the tap. Very small things. But when you hear it from a child's mouth and they are able to do it, because we see it in the break period, they tell each other, no, close the tap, this is not, you're wasting water. So those small things, it is like, it really means that it's trickling down and they are able to act on it. So I find like in my school, my children, they are able to understand what is the handprint concept is in in totality, in letter and spirit. And I owe it to Eco School and CE for bringing this concept in our schools.
Thank you.
Because we've been doing environment education since so many years, but then this program, it really builds on active engagement of children. Now here I'll just, my topic was for waste management or litter. This is our 4th year in Waste International Litterless campaign. We started as a class project where the students in the eco committee, they first did the survey, and then they came to know, okay ma'am, there's always litter under a desk, and some children, they just put it and they don't own up. So we started making, we did the survey and they said, okay, we have to have 2 kind of dustbins, and third dustbin was for MLPs. That year we did a simple exercise of collecting waste and measuring it. The second year, everyone went online, pandemic was there. So we were a little skeptical how to go about it, how we were going to do it. But then, despite of pandemic, I think in spite of that, and the parents joined in. Okay, then again we did a survey. The children, they did it on their own, and then we said that you concentrate on MLPs. What kind? And then with that, we for higher students, 4th and 5th, we said, okay, you talk about packaging. And one of the parent, he said, okay, I'll take the session. He's a professor in I think Delhi Technical College for Women, and he runs a sustainable development center there. So he did this packaging webinar with our children, and then after that, they all did this plastic detective at home, and then they checked the plastic numbers. They were plastic numbers and how you recycle them. So they did this exercise, and it was really, then they came up with the ideas, ma'am, this is what it is, and we can recycle it in that manner. And then they cataloged the different plastic used at home, and then they send their pictures on Teams. This is how we were working on. So slowly and slowly we evolved the Littlest campaign in a way that right now we are doing this MLP collections. We are back in school, and we have collected we've got a tie-up with Safai Bank of India, and then we have collected 11,000 MLPs, and they said like after 11 and till 15 we have a storage capacity in the school. They'll come and they will be used in cement factories and all. This is Safai Bank is doing in Mumbai, and we are there, started in Delhi setup also. Then we have gone beyond the schools. We've got 32 other schools coming up. We did the orientation session with them, and our students, we have the weekly MLP collection drive there, and everyone, we have that orientation session, and then we tell them that you have to do the survey at home, and then you see what kind of MLPs you're being used. Can you reduce it? Can you take a bigger packet or something like that? They're reflecting on their consumption pattern.
Right.
They're reflecting how they can solve the problems.
Right.
So we have this timetable that they will bring, and then they have to number it, because it is like a bank. They say that you have to bank it. So they have to total the number of MLPs collected. So we do it different weeks of the day, and we are collecting at home, in the school, and then we'll be giving it to Safai Bank. So I think it started with Eco School, one of the thematic topic of Eco project, and this is how we have evolved.
Right.
So it's a wonderful, children have taken up the role
Yes.
here, lead role, and parents along with parents.
Yes, thank you
So,
so much,
yeah,
ma'am. Actually,
okay.
that's what I think when Kartikesa was also talking about, that one is building the knowledge base, another is understanding the activity, but third is actually going and taking action. And when it brings about the change in the solving an issue or a problem or working on issues of waste and litter, which is so common, I think that's when, we can really make the difference. Yeah.
We have this Fit India campaign. So we combined it with, we start doing that flogging because you ran and picked the litter. So we had it for 6th, 7th, 8th grade students, and they did it, they went in the park with masks on and everything, and they were picking up litter.
Right.
And that was another activity we asked them to do it.
Yes.
So it was also like a kind of handprint.
Yes.
So it was like, I think it's a wonderful learning trajectory for all of us. Right?
Thank you so much, ma'am. Ma'am, if you could pass the mic to the next. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon. My name is Sangeeta Shivdasni. I'm from Chennai, and it's wonderful being here in this forum discussing about environmental education, which I thought I was the only crazy one out there. So to begin, I've led an environmental education program for this year. We began with I was volunteering with an organization called Bhumi. And environmental education program called Eco Champs was run in 13 government schools, 7-week program with basic knowledge about all the issues. Apart from that, we also helped them set up composting, kitchen garden, as well as waste segregation kit. So in that way, what we did was we did the sustainable circle, wherein every noon school with a noon meal scheme had a kitchen which was catering. So we created a kitchen garden. If they don't have a space for kitchen garden, we created pots and grow bags in terrace gardens. And the vegetable was used in the kitchen, and the kitchen waste went into the compost. And it was it was very sustainable model we established. So that is one project that I'm very, very closely associated with, apart from being a climate reality leader. So this model I would suggest for a lot of government schools, because I know private schools are able to cater for it, but government schools, they love to take part in this and get involved. So this is anybody who wants to get into the model, I could help you with that idea as well. Coming back to the question, what I've got is preschool. What policy would you adapt at a school level to address the overuse of paper and transportation? For the first point, overuse of paper. So I've designed 2 books, which is an activity book for junior and senior level. So we made sure that it is completely eco-friendly paper, and we went into the quality check in which it does not blot. That was our biggest concern, because we want to give them something and in a recycled paper. So we went into a lot of suppliers, we tested a lot of products. So if you take a preschool, we have a lot of use for craft. Everything is chart paper, colored paper, bring this, bring that, and a lot of mothers are involved in more of the craft. So I would suggest making it mandatory for every preschool to get into that recycled paper culture. So that we are not, or make sure that every craft paper that is being used, the end of the year, please give it for recycling and make it a recycled paper. So that should be part of the policy of a preschool. Coming back to transportation again, this is very, very a delicate thing, but yes, we can make sure that all the children are picked up and dropped in one vehicle, so that a little bit of security issue that we'll have to handle and take care, but still this can be done. We can go that extra step to make sure that it is imbibed from that stage. So I think it's possible.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. That I think the point that you made about the use of stationery and the papers for craft, there are so many natural elements available, right? I mean, I'll be happy to share that we have a Planet Discovery Center on our CE Ahmedabad campus, where we use leaves, dry flowers, twigs, pebbles, sand available, which becomes our craft material, rather than going for and buying new stationery material, because when you want to engage the children into sensory motor and fine motor activities, actually the natural elements come very handy, and they can go back to the nature, and we need not increase the litter. So I mean, that's really a lovely point. Thank you so much. We would really take it little faster now. Yeah,
sure.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Nayonika Soni. I'm from Balbhavan Public School. So I got the university level, build skills and inspire youth for green jobs or become ecopreneurs. So earlier we had this annual science exhibition in our school. So there were many ideas like the waste flowers. So people made ribbons and made keychains. I would like to discuss, as said earlier, the art and craft ship. So there were two people who made the keychains with resin. It was taken by CBSE for young entrepreneurs, and discussed earlier, like becoming ecopreneur or eco startup. So I would like to pass on to my partner.
As she has mentioned, the annual science exhibition of our school, there was one more project which I personally like very much. It's about olivine sand. It's a special kind of sand which absorbs CO2 from the atmosphere. That award, I think, that got first position in the annual exhibition, and it was also selected by the director of National Science Center. So the main motive of mentioning that was that we can use that to bring it at the university level. Also, we can use them at innovative ideas for eco startups. Like I mentioned, that ecopreneurs, which I think shall relate with entrepreneurships.
Yes. That's a very good point that you're making, that how do you really solve a problem by actually doing a startup and demonstrating that there is either a technological solution or, involving community and relevant stakeholders. How do you mobilize?
Yeah. Also, we can encourage the world-class university with things like IITs and NITs to make such eco clubs, and like we are the eco ambassador of our school.
Okay.
My name is Piyush Kumar Singh, and we can think of like the campus cultural functions. We can also encourage them to make like this conference, like sustainable conferences, and make them to talk about this topic, which is very serious.
Thank you so much. Yes, sir.
Archana, thank you. Two Archanas on the dais. Thank you so much. I just couldn't stop intervening what the lady just said on paper. I just want to raise this thought between the people who are sitting here, that the collection of white paper in India is 4%. That low. And the import of white paper, which we use for writing, is 4.5 million metric tons. That is what we import. And all this paper which you are writing on, we just tear it, throw it in the bin, and it goes into the landfill site. You would not believe that the newspaper which we save, and I don't know who that lady was. I'm sure she was a wonderful woman who set the systems in the house that has to be stored. And the collection for the newspaper is 96%. And that is all going into making brown paper, which you are picking up here.
Yes.
Please, I urge young minds. मेरी तो निकल गई, आपकी बची है. ठीक है? मेरी तो जैसी भी निकली बहुत अच्छी निकली, सत्यानाश किया हमने. But you have to make it. Now that I have already spoiled it, and I am asking and urging you, India consumes 9 billion metric tons of resources all across, including oil, water, everything. And our extraction rate is 1680 acres per 1680 metric tons per acre, and the world average is 470. We are 4 times high in extraction. So the thought is that you have no choice but to recycle what the young minds were talking, these young minds, and 2 of them picking up prizes. The future is very bright. You have fantastic leaders here in them, but I still feel that white paper needs to be taken care of. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Sodhi sir. Yeah. Okay. Yes, please.
I would first say thank you, CE, for coming up with this project, which actually children are involved with, and they are doing nice work. Even with children with the whole authority, school, teachers, parents, everybody is so involved with the environment work. On this talk of paper, I would say our school has started, just tried, experimented one project that the newspapers were coming and the primary children were given the newspapers. They will read and sometimes they will throw, sometimes it will go to dustbin or something. So we have started one project where children are going to make paper bags out of that. Whatever way they make, we have trained them with our school teachers only, and that will be given to the nearby vendors. They will go and distribute them so that the vendors will use them instead of plastic. And children have gone practically to them and requested them. They've spoken to them, bhaiya aap ye use karo, plastic mat use karo, because primary class children they were. So that was a very good initiative, and I think it is still going on. It worked. And second thing we started, that when we saw that the cleaner is coming to the class twice and thrice to clean the bin, because it's filling up. Children are taking out so much of waste during the day's time. So we thought first we will train them that you try to create less waste so that auntie will not come so many times to clean. It took some time, but with the passage of time, they tried to make it less. Then we tried remove the dustbin from the class. And we started removing from class 5 first. And still we are working on it. Few sections are able to do, few sections are still not able to do. So we removed the dustbin and we told, if you see, it's not possible that children will not take out any waste. They will eat banana, banana peel will come out, they will sharpen the pencil. So there will be waste. So we told them, just carry a small paper bag or the paper bag that you made for that distribution. You use that. And then while going back, you carry home or put it in the big dustbin, but try to create less waste. So that way, these two projects we are working, our school is still working. And I think we are less or more successful, and we are still trying to get it more successful.
Sure, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now I like to call upon our colleague, Ms. Preeti Rawat. She's the Senior Program Director based at our Lucknow office. Yes. Hi, Preeti. Hi. You can unmute, and we would invite her to share her thoughts and experiences on a project and a program which talks about the handprint care and how it has also now developed as a further methodology, taking handprint and care together. Yeah, sure. Over to you, Preeti.
Yeah, thank you, Archana. My voice is fine?
Yes.
Okay. So welcome all the teachers and educators and young students participating in this session. And we have heard very interesting stories and experiences from everyone. Taking ahead from what Kartikebai said, that the handprint is a very powerful message. And we began, like this was officially launched in 2007. And the date was 27 November. So that day we celebrate as Global Handprint Day. So it would be nice for schools who are participating in several of such initiatives where they are encouraging handprint action, they can celebrate Global Handprint Day, and so that this message goes to a wider public, especially parents and the entire school. So that could begin. So Kartikbhai was talking about showing a global map where handprint is seen in different countries. So as part of that, not only in India, but we are trying to work with several organizations where our international handprint network is formed, and several institutions take this idea of handprint and then use it in their own institutions, in their own initiatives and programs. So this is where I will be sharing one or two examples of how international handprint network is working and what kind of initiatives we are doing. Next slide, please. So this initiative actually, since handprint was evolved, like in 2007 it was launched, and before that even through environmental education program which happened in southern India, Andhra Pradesh. So this began with a very intensive environmental education program, and now as it evolved, there are a lot of sustainability dimensions which were integrated into it, and we are looking at what are the different pedagogies which could be basically developed around it. So handprint care evolved through that discussion. So we have a network of 5 institutions. You could see the logos. So there are the countries involved: Germany, Mexico, South Africa, and India. So from India, Center for Environmental Education and NCERT are the partners. And from South Africa, we have Rhodes University who is partner. And then there is a Mexico University. And from Germany, we have a German university. So we all were working together with the German ministry, Engagement Global, and there is a ESD expert net. So we all were thinking that when we talk about handprint all symbolizes a lot of things in every culture, especially in India. We show it as a symbol, which shows care, which is about like looking at caring something, taking responsibility. So there are a lot of indications, and we felt that while the entire globe is going through so many sustainability concerns and issues, why don't we look at how it connects to ethics? It's very important when we are using resources, like Mr. Sodi just said, that it's very important that we use things mindfully. So ethic is something which helps us to think twice. Like even teachers were sharing that how they started creating that discussion and debate within the children, that why have we to take action, and what is it, why we should take responsibility of what we are creating, and how are we responsibly using it. So with that idea, this entire concept of handprint care evolved, and we thought that it's very important to help teachers to understand how they could use this handprint care approach in their school curriculum. So we like past 2 years we have been discussing and developing a teacher education resource, which will be launched like last week, this month, last week of September. And we will be looking at this entire concept. It starts with looking at, if you can see that there's a SDG circle, which is like 17 SDG goals are there, and then there are different concerns which has been identified at globally, and there how it connects with the handprint and the concept of care. So care stands for what are the concern for others, what are the attention to needs, what are the needs we need to take like give due attention, and how do we respect for each other. It's not only the flora and fauna, but also looking at equity and empathy, and all those aspects are very important when we are defining handprint actions. And also engagement in common good. So this is a core idea with which this handprint care concept evolved, and we have developed a rich educational resource around which can be used by teachers for during their teaching, and which very well actually integrates with the current curriculum they are teaching. So it's basically looking at understanding the entire situation and then integrating it into the your curriculum, and see how children can be engaged in meaningful action. Next, please. So this approach is basically the way we see this approach is like a completely teacher mediated approach. Teacher is a key facilitator, and then who helps students to basically start doing the inquiry based learning. It's like they inquire themselves and find out what needs to be done. And then this is a curriculum approach where it begins with a real life story. So it's a true story which where the entire which triggers a discussion, and then which is based on the local concerns. It's not something we are talking somewhere else happening, but also which is happening around us. And then that leads to framing action and a process where various steps could be evolved. So this 4-quadrant model which you see on the screen is like there is Q1, quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, and quadrant 4. The idea is not that you start with the quadrant 1 and then do quadrant 2. So idea is like you can start with quadrant 4. For example, Kartik Bhai was talking about the cleanup action. So you can start with a cleanup action and then start discussing with the class why we have done this cleanup action, what will happen. So if you see the idea is that you can start with the action and then try to build upon build on how do you analyze the situation, how do you build the critical thinking around that particular issue, why litter is being created, why people don't take responsible behavior, and then help them to build their knowledge and do the inquiry process, and also see what are the real life stories, what are the startup stories. So many teachers are across the globe at different countries are using different approaches. So this approach sees that we use some real life stories which helps children to basically trigger a discussion in the classroom and then take them to the inquiry process and then start thinking about what can be done, and then handprint action for change is taken. So this 4-quadrant model is the core of what approach is followed in the handprint care methodology. Next, please. So around this is basically a tool for a teacher which can be used to teach, like in the teaching learning process, you can use SDGs to create basically a discussion around it, and each of the topic, if you see, is connected to most of the subjects and the lessons you are creating, or even you are doing extracurricular activities or a project based learning, which it very well connects to different aspects. For example, in this detail we have discussed about waste management here, which comes like goal 12, which talks about production and consumption. It is also connected to health and well-being, and also very importantly with the education. So this is how teacher can pick up any of the topic and use this handprint care pedagogy and try and see and build local connection and see how this can be converted into ultimately into handprint action. Next, please. So on the same idea, when handprint concept was evolved, we created a model in India which is called Paryavaran Mitra and which is known as Friends of Environment. It was launched like 2007, handprint was launched, and then 2008 this entire a campaign was launched around climate change, and where this Paryavaran Mitra program evolved, looking at how children could be engaged and create a young leadership can be created where their awareness, knowledge is built, and they feel a commitment and the potential to meet the challenges. Right now, when the world is facing so many environmental problems, and when you look at the concept of footprint, children usually have this guilt of, oh, we are putting so much of pressure on earth, and what can we do? So handprint is basically a positive hope for children to, yes, we can do small action and still try to save our planet earth, and also create a just society where we can consider everyone very important. It's not only the wild animals or even plants, but also people around us from any background, any economic background, or whatever work they are doing. So there is a participation and the understanding that handprint is something which helps us and gives us that confidence. Next, please. So this pedagogy which we have been following with schools, many of your schools would be I'm sure engaged in, which talks about how starting with exploration. So children are given given a time where they explore environmental issues around them, then discover what are the environmental issues and their impact on society, on environment, and then try to think about solutions, what can be done, picking up any one topic. So it could be in the school campus or in nearby. There are several schools who have actually gone out and taken certain issues like reviving a pond or basically taking care of green spaces. So those kind of action projects they take up, and then it is basically owned by a school, and once the action is completed, their learnings are shared. So this EDTAS model is the pedagogy which has evolved around handprint and encourages schools to use this approach. So here we have shared two approaches which are being like one we are already using, and then one we are introducing as handprint care, where ethics is a core of you taking the handprint action. Next, please. With this, I will now give it to Archana back, because right now we are talking about international and national. So international, one of the experience we have from Foundation for Environmental Education. So Archana, you can just take it from here and invite our next speaker to share.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Preeti, for sharing the whole methodology of handprint care and Paryavaran Mitra, where basically we are taking actions, but also ethically involving into, taking the right actions. Thank you so much. Now I'd like to call upon Mr. Arnav Masia, the international coordinator for from the Foundation for Environmental Education, Denmark, to share his experiences and thoughts on how the My Actions Matter program has shaped up. Over to you, Arnav.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Is it okay if I share my screen?
Yes.
Perfect. Are the slides visible? Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Your slides are visible now.
Perfect. And I assume the audio is also fine.
Yes, we can hear you clearly.
Thank you very much. So yeah, happy to be here. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Arnav Masia. I'm an international coordinator of education at Foundation for Environmental Education. And today I'll briefly introduce you to our Global Action Days, also known as My Actions Matter campaign. So as a bit of an introduction, since 2015, he has been coordinating the annual Global Action Days campaign. And every year, the Global Action Days, or also known as My Actions Matter, mobilizes the power of the whole FIN network and demonstrates how small individual actions can have a significant impact on the well-being of ourselves, our communities, and our planet. In this slide, you can see a couple of quotes from Leslie Jones, FI president, and also the national operator of the Eco-Schools program in India, Madhavi. And I think, yeah, it's important to highlight how the actions, the small actions from Global Action Days, they intend to empower youth and participants and realize how even if your actions might be small and you might feel like you are acting very local only at your school level, when you sum up all the different actions from all over the world, you can make a huge impact. For the past 40 years, FI, or the Foundation for Environmental Education, has been dedicated to promoting education for sustainable development through its 5 programs. Through the My Actions Matter campaign, we would like to promote the following educational principles. The first one being encourage participants to work together actively and involve their communities and in collaborative solutions. The second being generating hope with positive and tangible handprint actions that showcase the way we can all make an impact when we work together towards a common goal. And lastly, with the My Actions Matter campaign, we also would like to empower participants to take informed decisions and actions on real life and local sustainability issues. Despite that it's a global campaign, which people from all over the world are welcome and invited to join, we always invite participants to focus on local problems. As introduced before, in 2021, we launched a 21 days Global Action Days campaign, which invited participants to work upon actions towards tackling environmental pollution, biodiversity loss, and climate change. In 2022, this year, we decided to focus only on protecting global biodiversity. And we invited participants to join over 5 positive handprint actions to protect, restore, and celebrate global biodiversity over a over 10 days, a period of 10 days. I'm going to now walk you through the five actions that participants were able to participate, and I'll explain them a little bit with a few more details. The first action we invited participants to join us was called nature dipping, and with this action, what we intended was that participants would spend some time outdoors in a green space. We invited participants to go outside and stand still, relax themselves, and just listen and appreciate their surroundings. And after some time appreciating nature and what they have around, we also invited them to focus and try to spot maybe a flower, a plant, a little bird, and try them to observe also nature. After spending some time outdoors, we wanted participants to reflect upon this experience. How did being outdoors in contact made them feel? Did they feel more relaxed? Did they feel happy? Did they feel energetic afterwards? So we wanted them to reflect in class about this experience, and also make sure that they would share this experience with their families, friends, and others in their local communities. And I guess the main goal here for this action was to make sure that connection with nature is established, because otherwise it's hard to advocate and ask students to care for their local environment if they don't feel connected to it, if they don't feel like they belong. Our second action for this year, Global Action Days, was called Nature Detectives. And with this action, we invited participants to also get outside. And this time, they should try to identify some native plants and wildflowers from their country or region. While being outdoors, we invite them to use nature guides, but also apps such as iNaturalist. And hopefully, after identifying the different plant species, we ask them to make a list, and when possible, also take photographs of their identifications. And finally, share these identifications with friends, their families, their other classmates within the school, and also try to notice again if the species that they were identifying, they were native from the region or country or not. Our third action for this year, Global Action Days, was called Life in Danger. And with this action, we wanted to raise the awareness about endangered animal species from participants' country or region. We invited participants to choose an endangered species and think about ways that they could actually raise awareness about this species within their local community. We invited participants to maybe make informative posters. They could also write a letter. They were also invited to come up with drawings that they could later on distribute within the school. And also even some of them, we also come up with the idea of making short documentaries or small videos that they could, of course, later on share on social media or with their parents and families. And again, a special important component of this activity is not research, is not getting knowledge and trying to find out new things about a local endangered animal species, but also how later on the student feels empowered to share this knowledge with friends or even at home with their parents. I think this is one of the things that we wanted to highlight, and I think based on the photograph that we received after the campaign, I think many great posters, videos, and drawings were created to raise awareness about these endangered animal species. The fourth action that we invited participants to join was named Labels to Look For. And with this action, we invited participants to look around within their kitchens at home and tried to identify how many environmental labels they could find on the food products that they have stored at home. After doing this little observation activity, we invited participants to choose one of the labels that they found and do a little bit of research on what does it stand for and what does this label actually mean. So after doing this little bit of a research project, we invited participants to share their findings, whether it was in class, by making presentations, or also by sharing these findings at home with their parents. And lastly, we also were inviting students to reflect a little bit upon, now that they actually knew the meaning of these environmental labels, whether next time that they were going to the supermarket, maybe with their families and their parents, whether they would be actually paying more attention to the product that they were buying, and whether they might be willing to, pay sometimes a little bit more of money to buy a product that actually has an environmental label on. So that was a little bit the purpose of this action number 4. And lastly, after joining these 4 actions, we wanted to end our Global Action Days with a celebratory activity, and this is action number 5: have a green party. It was more of an open activity, and what we wanted is actually the students to celebrate their work, their achievements over the 10 days. And they could actually decide to engage in very different activities. Some of our suggestions were that maybe they could set up bird feeders within the school grounds or at home in their balconies or small gardens, and trying to maybe observe how the little birds and how many species they were actually able to count or spot by sitting quietly in a spot and observing how the birds were coming and taking the food from the bird feeders. But also we invited participants to do cleanups. There's a photo here that we received from students participating in a beach cleanup. Also, some of them decided to clean up their school grounds or the immediate environment outside the school. And we received, it was very much an open activity, but the main purpose was to get the students to engage in a handprint action to celebrate their efforts. And I'm reaching the end of my presentation, but what have been the main outcomes from Global Action Days? Well, through this year's Global Action Days, we counted with more than 150,000 participants from 73 countries. I think, again, it's very inspiring to see how students and schools from over 73 countries come together over a period of 10 days to in this case, work upon making small positive actions for biodiversity. And I think to emphasize again the point that it might feel local. Students might really feel like, okay, what we are doing it's only here, us in our school, in our country, in our region. But then when you add up all these actions from all these participants from all these countries, you can really say how Global Action Days and the My Actions Matter movement really makes a global and significant impact. And besides our Global Action Days, over the past year, FI has also been running its biodiversity campaign. And as part of this campaign, we have hosted a biodiversity best practice competition and a biodiversity lesson plan competition. And we have received many great best practices, actually from over 41 countries, some of them from India. And I think it's the final resources that we have published they contain very inspiring stories about how schools from all over the world are working towards protecting and restoring biodiversity. The same with the lesson plans. We received lesson plans from over 15 countries, and I think they're also they are very inspiring and worth having a look for teachers. These lesson plans were created by teachers, and I think yeah, they are excellent inspirational resources. So if you would like to have a look at our best practices or our lesson plans with a focus on biodiversity, you are more than welcome to visit the link. I'll maybe try to also share it in the chat so that maybe they later on can be distributed among all the participants. And those are the things that I wanted to highlight in my presentation. Of course, if you have questions or if there's anything you would like us to clarify, you're always more than welcome to contact Pramod Kumar Sharma, our Senior Director of Education at Foundation for Environmental Education, and also myself. Here are both our emails addresses. And yeah, just thank you very much for inviting me to present our Global Action Days campaign. And I hope this was useful and hopefully inspiring.
Thank you. Thank you, Arnav, for sharing the campaign and especially how you have mobilized children in doing the beach cleaning campaigns and also the eco-friendly celebrations and parties. I must say, I think that's a very important area in which, because we host a lot of events and celebrations, and how we can really make it more friendly to the environment and do litter less around the parties. Thank you, Arnav. He has also shared the links of the biodiversity lesson plans, and you may have a look at that also. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. If you could put the original presentation again, please. Now I'd like to again call upon Shri Kartikeya Sarabhai to share the experiences about a program called Sustainable Development Goals Handprint Laboratory, which is a program that we work at a higher education level. You're doing, or what should I do?
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Atma. First, I wanted to just say that you saw the handprint care presentation, which Preeti Rawat, Preeti Garoja did. I wanted to just say that this is being launched at a program on the 27th of September. And it is at 6:30 p.m., 6:30 to 8 p.m. All the authors will say something. We've got some really great environmental educators to comment on it. And then there will be a 15-minute question answer session. In this, there will be a link sent. So I would think that if you can leave your email IDs or your names. Have you got everyone's? If you get it, then we will immediately send you the link, because this is something immediately coming up on the 27th. The other reason why you should give a link is that we are having a one-day program, first in Ahmedabad, and then we are having a national program also, looking at how to introduce climate change into the school curriculum. And several groups are coming. We are already involved in doing something in 4 or 5 states. So this workshop also would be open in case any one of you want to workshop. I don't have the exact date yet, but we can send it to you. So please see that your name, and if you want this mail, then please see that it is given. Now this program, which is called the SDG Handprint Lab, and the minute we called it the lab, we said it is the external lab, and it is a 4-credit program at the university. So what we do is we go to a university, but it could equally be done 11th, 12th, or even 9th, but higher standards. Higher standards because it involves going outside the school premises, and you don't. And if you go in smaller groups, you don't want small children to be able to really do that. So what they do is that each institution selects an actual geographical area outside. It could be a village, it could be one area of a city, it could be an administrative boundary. Usually the advantage of having administrative boundaries is that your statistics are available for that. If you select some other type of boundary, it will be difficult to know what government statistics are on that. That is the reason for selecting an administrative boundary. So the other important thing is administrative boundary. And then we have these SDG goals. And is there another slide there? Yeah. So this is what we call a local area study and sustainable action pedagogy for higher educational institutions. The pedagogy involves us first showing that area, and usually these are areas which the students are familiar with. So suppose we take the Lodi area here or something, that they would know, and they say what should be the boundary, they put some boundaries. And then in a room, we discuss all the SDGs, but we put up the SDGs on a board around the room. I told you in the beginning that we have brought down the 169 to something like 30 or so. So we put up the 31, which are easily doable projects for everyone. And they go around and they put their name, whichever way you do it, on those slips. We usually like about 4 to 6 children per group. And if you don't have enough in one group, you'll have to sort of combine them. So you have about 4 to 6 children in one group. And then they look at that same area, but each group looks at it differently from that SDG point of view. That if that SDG, for instance, the SDG could be something like road accident, for instance, that there should be no, you want to minimize road accident in this area. And then you can find out where does it happen or not. You might want to introduce them to the traffic police or something. In the case of one of the colleges, they found that there was a particular bump near their college, and several accidents used to happen on that bump. And the solution they found, of course, they couldn't change the bump, but what they did was they put some signage there, properly identifying that bump. It was a small action, but perhaps it saved some lives. And they feel that they have actually participated. They also research it now on this. We just now, for instance, CE has a program in Jorhat in Assam, which is specifically looking at what sort of road arrangements should be done outside a school so that children are safe. And they've actually done it. And with IIT Guwahati, they have actually implemented it in these 2 crossings. And it's been really good, that program, because what sort of arrangements you do when the children suddenly come out and to prevent that. So this is an actual action. Another one could be, the waste, we've talked about several things. So waste is a very easy, low-lying fruit which everyone can do and see their action. But also it could be something to do with nature. And what you saw in that FE presentation, where they go and experience nature, they can go around and also experience the fact that some trees might not be doing well. They can also take positive action by saying that we want to get birds. We somehow don't get birds in our area. So why don't we get it? So maybe the trees are not ones which attract small birds at least. And you want to have something which has a ficus variety or something, which has those small fruits and others, and those fruits will attract birds. So how do you see that and things like that? So they can be a number of actions. They might even want to put up a bird feed to test their hypothesis. Okay, if I put these seeds, will they come or not? So it doesn't matter which SDGs they pick out of these 30, but all the 30 are projects that they can actually do in their area and make a difference. So this is the next part of it. Is there another slide? Sorry. No. So what they do is then they put up their projects. After they completed this, so many weeks of this, they put up their projects on like a demonstration, like a fair. So they put up the projects, the children are standing in front explaining it. But then it becomes interesting because we select 5 people from that community, not just the teacher, and there is a certain amount of grading which is done by that evaluation. The teacher does the rest, but the teacher doesn't know 100% of the grading. The teacher might do 60 or 70%, and 30% is left by this grade. So these people who have perhaps never graded anybody, but they are from the community, they have to come and they look around, ask these people what it is and whether it makes sense for them, whether it's a practical thing or it's totally theoretical or what is it. So that interaction, that your final client, if you like, if you're a policymaker or something, is the community. That is something which gets go into it. They have to explain it to non-academic people, but people who are stakeholders in that. And then they get the grade. Anywhere in the colleges, we get grades from 3 to 5, whatever points, which they get credits for that course. And it's done extremely well. In some colleges, they even ask people to pay a small fee for that, or whatever they do, how they do it. But it is going on. It's going on even now. I think today is Saturday. So Saturdays in one college, they've asked us to come every Saturday and do this. So again, depending on where you are, and if you want to do this course, if you're from Delhi, or I don't know where everyone's school is, you were saying Chennai, yours is Chennai. Yeah. So, but we would have someone or the other in many places, so we can also do that. So this was another program, she said. It's again a very straight handprint action program. Right, you can anyway just put it.
Thank you, Kartiki bhai. And another initiative of CE, I would again request sir to share his ideas.
No, the coordinators are not here. They asked me to do it. The tide turner is something which CE, as you can see from the logos, it is a United Nations Environment Program. And for those who were there at the UNEP session yesterday, you saw Sam Barrett from Nairobi, who heads the program here. So he came here and he was discussing the program. And finally, it was decided that CEE and WWF would be the two partners to this program with UNEP. And then, of course, others joined, like Bharat Scouts became a program. Just now, there's any day we are having a major function here where the NCC wants to again join this program. And the program started off essentially as an online certification program. So there are 3 levels, and it's designed so that there's some multiple choices of questions. You have to answer that. Then you go to the next level. 3rd level is actually taking some action and reporting on it, uploading a photograph. Totally 4.5 lakh youth have been trained so far over 4 phases in India, and it's really a wonderful program. Our ability of taking that program from essentially a web-based program to much more action-based program, and therefore involving the schools in that program, not just individuals, not just the students, but also involving teachers, is something which we are trying to work out. But this is another program which can be done. This is a youth program, so it can go from middle school all the way up to I said it was junior university and things. So what you must have seen today is that, are you showing any other program? Or we
Yeah, the school. And
yeah, okay, 2 more left.
Yeah.
We should finish it.
Quickly.
Yeah, quickly, I think. Sure.
So thank you, Kartik bhai. I think the way we understand is that the handprint actions, doesn't really look at a very specific age group. It can actually be catering to right from very small kids to anybody, and who's staying on this planet Earth. So quickly, I think what we would like to share is that we had posted to you some of the questions, and aligning with these, that there could be learning centers, early education learning centers, we call them kindergartens and preschools, which can use handprint as a key pedagogical approach. We have the Planet Discovery Center where handprint is the key approach, and the kids, right from the time they come to school, how they come to school, they do carpool, from the kinds of bags they carry, how their classrooms look, what kind of stationery items they use, what kind of activities they do, which again go back to their families, home environment, communities, in taking positive actions. We might think that, okay, it might be they are too young for these kinds of action, but we see wonderful results. We're running short of time, may not play the video of actually students taking actions right now, but that's what we thought, that there's some of the pictures. They make their own brushes. We get plastic brushes, right? They make their own nature brushes. They go around with magnifying glasses. They do not want like too heavy tools and laboratories to go around in the nature work. They've made their weighing scales. on their own, and they are doing gardening. They're using cloth bag, actually using cloth bag every day to bring their tiffin bags to the school. If they have leftover water in their water bottles, they give it to plants. A very small, action. But then basically what we are trying to say is, one is building the knowledge based awareness, understanding, but at higher levels also skills, but then converting them into positive actions and really bringing about a change. I think that's what I thought I can quickly share about the Planet Discovery Center. I'll request my colleague Khushbu to share about the Eco Schools initiative and how the handprint methodology has been taken into this program.
I would also, just before you do that, say that for this very little children, people planting a seed and seeing it actually come up, and then coming up in a sense that you can actually eat it. So we are trying to have a campaign where if every child, we are saying that during the whole year, is there a single thing which you have planted and you eaten? Just one thing. My grandchild gave me this time for my birthday a pot with earth, filled it, and some spinach seeds. So I planted them, and 3 months later it was completely green. And I called him. I said, that birthday present you gave me actually worked. So then he came. We cut the leaves, washed him, and then he himself cooked it, and we both ate. Now it was such a nice little thing to do. Not an expensive activity, but the fact that you actually see something grow, and then after some months you can eat it. So I would say, and you could have some multiple seeds. So children could pots with their names on it, and you could say, okay, I want to do spinach, she wants to do something else, someone wants a mirchi, something else, and then they can also work together, that you grow this and I grow this, and we'll mix it and eat it. So it is a good thing to do, and also plan it so that it all comes together when it's ready.
Like we're saying farm to plate, we're actually saying pots to plate,
Yeah.
So actually doing that.
Thank you, Archana and Kartikeya sir. As Archana mentioned about the pre-primary, how the handprint concept, as evolved as a pre-primary section. So, and how the primary level section, the handprint concept has evolved. So, one of the program, which is the Eco School program, I think most of you already aware about the Eco School program, some of not aware. So, Eco School program is an international educational program, and it is a starting from the, make as a eco club as a one of the approach where the handprint concept is evolved. So basically is working with the students, and it is as I already mentioned about the handprint is not it's a real life educational program where the handprint actually comes, and Eco School provides this opportunity to connect with the real life world, and it's not only the school level program where this entire student can go outside and to join the community also. So basically the entire community is also attaching in this program, and this program has a 7-step pedagogy where the teachers only do the facilitation part. Okay, it's just a role for the facilitation part, but the entire process would be laid by the students. So how this program is evolved, that student has to do the survey, because Arnav already mentioned about the so many activities and actions, so I'm not going to detail in the survey. Then this after the survey, then the students has defined exactly what the local issues are. They are identify local issue. They are going to criticize, that minds, that thinking process will come in this board, and that skills building are automatically part of this program. And then they are going to design that what exactly actions they wanted to go ahead with this Eco School program. And of course our CE's entire program is curriculum based program, so there are no extra burden for any schools. So it's a curriculum linkage is also there, and then the students are going to go the outside world to connect with the community. So the process is the 7-step methodology where, and then you can also see that there are so many actions. You can see that this is a not activity based program. That's why this program is a 3 years program, and it's not a 1 year program. As sir mentioned that this is a it's a process, and print is also the process, and this process is requires some time, right? So this is how the Eco School program runs, where our children could have a kitchen garden at their premises, at their schools, and this vegetables are going to use as a midday meal, so and only the students are going are a change maker for this program. So This is the how the actions you can see. There are vegetable garden, vertical garden in the school premises. Some of the already photos are taken from the ASN school is a vertical garden. Here you can see that how the grade 1 to 5 children are associated with the plastic change process. So these are the small steps are going to take by the students and how the change will go ahead. So, but I'm not going much time because I have video, but we can show later on. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Kushbu. I'd like to invite our colleague, Ms. Archana Bhatnagar, to share about how a thematic component about WASH, water and sanitation, hygiene, education, can be taken to the classrooms or into the action through a handprint, methodology.
I hope I'm audible to the last. We saw all the concept.
No, recording that.
Yeah.
Saw that in the city areas and good schools, we are able to influence children, but my job is little tricky because I have to deal with children who are coming from the communities where we do not expect the parents to be literate. I'm working in communities basically and with the government schools. So influencing those students to take up that ownership is little bit difficult. And my projects are doing a job to motivate these children to understand what is the local concerns and how they can come up with the solutions of their own. So in short, I will just like to understand that my the theme of WASH is very much necessary. COVID has taught us many lessons for that, but then how to get to the children who are in government schools, where maybe with some or other reasons we have limitations of infrastructure or maybe the knowledge, the information. So we are working into two core areas of hardware and software. In hardware, we wish to make or repair and retrofit things which can facilitate them to have good facilities of WASH, that is water, sanitation and hygiene. And after doing that, we have to place certain messages they can read and understand and recollect, okay, yes, this is what action I have to take. Also, we have to design and as already eco schools are doing, like kitchen garden or compost pit, to make them understand, okay, this can facilitate into their WASH practices. But that is hardware. How to make that change into their behavior. So we have our capacity building training and behavior change areas, wherein first of all we address the teacher trainings or maybe orientation, and then we have most important the Bal Sansad, wherein the student councils are responsible for certain small responsibility given by the teacher, but we are making them, strengthening them to understand their roles as mantris. I will show you a little bit of things, but let me finish my description of things. How Bal Sansad is helping in the government schools to understand and maintain the infrastructure and the system into the school of this WASH facility and infrastructure. So that is how we are proceeding in government schools and communities as well, to make them clear. See, messages are there on all the hoardings, but then how to make them adapted so that there are better hygiene facilities and better habits for hygiene and good health. So this is the approach where sir already explained the handprint action. So we also make them go through, the transit walks are made so that the children understand what is the infrastructure available in our school, what all areas need repair and what all things are to be maintained by themselves. So that action helps them to understand, and then we make forward, okay, we have identified the concern, how we can make a little change in our action to be more cleaner, to be more particular about personal hygiene, as well as moving forward for cleanliness of the campus and houses. So it's a short kind of approach, but then handprint does help us, right? So just moving forward into the technical parts, we are doing it, but then in short, I would like to make it understand that how we have the technical surveys. We identify the areas in the school, then we go for a repair of those areas which need, we have compost pits. We are developing those compost pits in the school so that they develop this habit of, not littering around, but then having it into a proper way of composting. So please next. Also, we have teacher orientation, the knowledge attitude tests, as well as the orientation and of roles and responsibility of Bal Sansad. We also involve the local systems, that is the SMC, because they are part of school system. So we have to orient them and involve them, because we have to move into the communities also and make them realize about their local situations and concerns. Also the teacher training as a component. So how this works, we as I said, like we need to have certain kind of mechanism. In schools, we have developed the registers and the books to note what all things are the concerns. We are making them responsible. When they have these badges, they feel little bit of responsibility. Yes, I am this mantri. So this helps them to get that responsibility. And also the IC materials are developed to place it in such an area where they can read it and understand what was told in the session. So this is how we are just trying to make a circle to understand importance, as well as also change their regular habits and move forward from the concerns and make it a solution for them. So thank you for listening patiently.
Thank you, Ms. Archana Bhatnagar.
UNICEF.
Yes, UNICEF. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
No, this, what she explained was the experience of the Ahmedabad program. We are doing just now at a different level, UNICEF-led program in Andhra, Telangana, and Karnataka. In the schools that are going on the program, and there, as you know, there is, each school is graded with 1 star to 5 star. So we were told that we have to raise the people who are in 2 or 3 star to 4 star, and that whole, there is a goal there, and so many schools have been raised. We are also doing this in Rajasthan with the what's it called, the Kasturba Gandhi Balika Vidyalaya. So there also, those are residential places, and we did a program there. We've done a lot of programs on wash in Assam and others. So there are many states where they're doing it. Slightly the approaches vary, looking at local conditions and what, but there's a whole lot of learning there. So today we are just putting this in your mind that this thing is going on, but there are events where we just discuss specific techniques which will work in wash.
Thank you, Kartikeya bhai. We're almost coming to the close. Thank you for patient hearing. But as we have shared a few glimpses and also heard from you what you've been doing in the school, this methodology is in our hands now, and the new education policy and the whole challenges of sustainable development goals are there for us to take this ideology and concept further and use it in whichever setting we are working. So with that, I'd like to thank all the participants, experts, Shri Kartikeya Sarabhai, my colleagues, especially Ms. Preeti Rawat and Arnav, for staying with us online and sharing your experiences. Thank you so much. Thank you for your patient hearing. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to please invite you for a group photo. Please come. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.